Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're joining us from around the world. And today I'm joined by Neil Perkins from the Wales Touch Association. Good morning to you, Neil, over there in Wales.
Good morning, Adam. It's great to see you. Thanks for having us on your show. It's excellent.
Yeah, looking really forward to catching up, mate, and finding out a little bit about touch football over there in Wales and how everyone's handling the COVID period, obviously. But before we get into that, mate, tell everybody a little bit of the Neil Perkins story. How did you get involved in touch, and what's your background in the sport?
Oh, God, I've been playing the game a long time. Thankfully, touch was brought to us by some guys from the Southern Hemisphere many years ago. A close friend, Dave Swain, Paul Napier, the sad Paul Napier, who's passed away many years ago, and Morris Smith, all good friends of mine. They developed touch in Wales, and I started playing back in '95, I guess. I got involved in the local setup that Dave had put together. And that springboarded things for us in '99. I got involved in the Welsh side that we toured the first World Cup, and really that was a springboard for us to get things moving. I've been playing a long time: 5 World Cups, 11 European Championships, 4 home nations. I got a few caps under my belt, and it's been an awesome journey. And I've been involved in setting up Wales Touch from the start, getting it constituted, getting it limited by guarantee, getting it recognised by the Welsh Sports Association in Wales. But we still got our challenges to deal with in Wales. We still got a lot of things we got to try and deal with and move it forward. But it's been an awesome journey, and long may it continue.
Yeah, absolutely. It is that type of game, a very social game, and the way it's structured, you can stay in the sport for a long time. There's something for everybody in our game, and that's part of the sport that we love and what we find helps the promotion around the world. Is it something that you found over there in Wales? Is it reflected in the numbers you've been able to recruit along the journey?
The numbers differ from year to year. We are struggling. Volunteers is an issue for us. So getting volunteers to run things in Wales. We were heavily involved around the Cardiff area for many, many years. But we got modules that are set up in Swansea. But when you look at us in Wales, when you compare us to England, to look at the population numbers, you look, we're 18 to 1. It's 57 million people in England, and there's 3 million people in Wales. So you look at where we are. We're always punching above our weight, really, when we play in the game. And the demographics of Wales is quite difficult, with the Mid Wales being quite difficult to access, and North Wales being quite difficult to access. So it is based around the M4 corridor, really. Player numbers as in module development is an issue. So we've been trying to push that out for many, many years, and thankfully, as I mentioned him earlier, Dave Swain has been fundamental to getting this game played, and the modules that he's run. He's been running things for over 30 years. So I'm really thankful for Dave and everything he does and has done for Wales Touch. Player numbers wise, it's not where we want it to be, but it could be more. But you're looking this weekend now. We got 25 new caps coming into play for the autumn series. We're playing up against England, so we're having a good turnover of players. But it's always something we want to try and grow. Always.
Oh, that's the name of the game. Doesn't matter what country you're in. We're always looking to grow the game. And as you said, the journey there has been wide and varied, and the numbers ebb and flow. But you're not alone there, mate. That's something that the sport's experienced over many, many years all around the world. So hopefully things like this and people just getting to know you better, and therefore the sport in Wales will touch on what we can do, or what touch players around the world can do for Wales as we move through this chat. But mate, before we get any further into the development side of the sport, I just want to touch on the COVID situation. Obviously, all around the world, we've all been affected by COVID. How has it affected the people of Wales from a community perspective, but then also from a sport perspective?
It's been a real tough time for everybody around the world, hasn't it? I'm a teacher, I'm a PE teacher, and to see what the young people have had to deal with within the UK and beyond has been catastrophic, to say the least. The impact that it's had on sport has been massive, as we're all fully aware, to see no sport taking place. But thankfully, things are opening up in the UK now. When we're looking at, we've got 88% of the population have had the first vaccination, and that's young people over 16 and adults over that age, and we're up to about 78% have had the second dose. So that's helping us to get the game, play the game and to look after the population within the UK. But it's been awful, isn't it? It's been has been awful, and trying to stay in touch with people. And thankfully, for mediums like this and the other platforms that we've got, we've been able to communicate with people. But we've definitely seen a drop off of involvement, and definitely seen a drop off of engagement, which is to be expected, I guess. As we moving things forward now, hopefully that'll grow again, and we can start building and start moving things the right way. But it's been awful. I know you guys in the Southern Hemisphere are still in lockdown, and we're pretty much opening fully up now. So we're getting towards it. We got a third peak that's come in. And I'm a teacher myself, and we're going back into school tomorrow. Actually, I can't wait back into education tomorrow. So we're going to watch and see what happens here. And there's a big debate in the UK at the moment about whether we vaccinate the 12 to 15-year-olds, and is that the right way to go? And hopefully the medical experts will help us with that to make sure that we're following the right protocols. But whatever we do, we'll be keeping things nice and safe for people. And the board in Wales have worked tirelessly to make sure that we're following the protocols to get trained, to follow the COVID protocols. And it's been really, really difficult. It's been really difficult. And I'm thankful to all the board that we've had in Wales to get that together. It's tough. It's a tough time. People are losing their lives here, and we can't forget that. It's just awful. And my thoughts go out to everybody in the world who's lost their life on the back of this dreadful.
Absolutely, pandemic. Mate. And I think it's you talked about there the support of the board and making sure that you're following all the protocols. But the other aspect of it is our sport is such a social sport. Yeah. And coming from a country, you said, where you have a small but dedicated base of people that drive the game, play the game. They're probably wearing many different hats. The players are referees. They're also coaches. They're also, the people in the canteen that look after us on a match day. But what's been the strategy for Wales Touch to keep people connected? Have you found new ways to do that in the COVID times through mediums like this, or just keeping in touch with your player base?
We have, player base has been quite difficult, but, we've tried to get that. So it's been like a devolved thing, I guess. So, we've had the coaches have got involved with their player base to keep them ticking over. And they've used social mediums and the other streaming mediums that we've got to try and communicate in that way. But, we've tried to engage our volunteer base with catching up via meetings, on the streaming protocols that we've got. We've used quite a few, but it's difficult. It's just been difficult, but we're learning new skills, aren't we? We're learning new skills on how to communicate, and I think those skills are with us forever now. So I think they're for the better of us as well. So how we can get the word out there is certainly improved, and hopefully we can continue with those ways to keep it going.
Yeah, you come through adversity a little bit stronger every time.
Yeah.
As we develop, as you said, those new skills and take them on into the new era, whatever it may bring for us. Yeah. So, in relation to your sport, you talked about the small base, and you really want more people to come through. What's Wales Touch doing from a development perspective? How are you looking at, junior and youth development moving through into your senior ranks?
Yeah, well, I think he must have been sitting on the board the way that you commented on us earlier, knowing we all got different hats to wear and we're doing things. I think he must be sitting alongside us because, we definitely do that. We have multiple roles is what we are. We're trying to push things out. We're trying to do as much as we are. And we spread too thin. That's the bottom line. We are spread too thin. We need more volunteers. We need more people involved. We need more people with a passion. The people are out there. But time is precious, and and the way that we're working now in this pandemic and beyond, time is precious. And to try and look at how we push in the development, we got the juniors and the youth development and senior players. I look at it the three different questions there. The juniors, we got a fantastic junior coach, Owen Smith. He's just been appointed as a life member of the Wales Touch Association for his contribution for the sport in Wales. Owen plays for the men's 50s. He's in our men's 50 squad. He's coaching the women's. So look, there's three roles that Owen's got there. It's massive. Plus everything he does with his other sports that he's involved in. He's involved with scouting. He's involved with rugby union. So this guy's a busy guy. So but he does a fantastic job. And you look at and our growth has been great because of the junior development. You look at the junior championships have been going on in the UK. The European Junior Championships have been taking place, and I think we started that in 2014 in Swansea to get that off the ground, and that's continuing. So hopefully we can grow that and keep that going the way we are. But we're trying to get things embedded in schools, and it's difficult. It's really difficult. We do have a problem within the UK getting the sport recognised as a sport in its own right. Wales have been slightly different to the four of the home nations, in the sense that we're recognised by the Welsh Sporting Association as a sport in its own right. Touch has been recognised as a sport in its own right. Now, the Welsh Sport Association sits underneath the Sports Council for UK. So it's not a recognised sport. We've got the other genetic forms of rugby, the league and the union. And they, touch at the moment isn't deemed to be dissimilar enough from those other sports to be a sport in its own right. I'll argue differently, obviously, as every touchy in the world obviously would. But that's an avenue that we have to explore further. And it's something that we really haven't had enough time with all the commitments that we've got to develop. It's something that maybe us as all the UK nations, we do need to get together in some way that we can try and get our sport recognised, because it'll open up funding streams, it'll open up different pathways, it'll open up different avenues for us for support within UK sport. Your lottery funding, all of the things that are available that we basically can't access at the moment. But that's something that we need to look at in the future, and we'll continue to bang the drum and knock the door in relation to that development. Juniors wise, going back to your question, juniors wise is going well. It's not where we wanted to be, but we've got youngsters coming through, and that's the important thing. Schools development, we've run some schools competitions. We've got the Eisteddfod in Wales have run some schools development and junior comps, and that's going well. It's not where we want it to be. It's not as big as we want it to be, but it's a start. You've got to start somewhere, and that's where the growth comes. Get the good foundation base, and we'll get a good peak from that. From the juniors come the youth, really. So we're looking at where we go from that, and the youth feed into the senior groups. Those three are so intertwined, as you're fully aware. That it's really important. But then you look at it from the other perspective. You look at it from the old setups, the overs, the 30s, the 35s, and keeping that going as well. So it's a multitude of different teams that we've got that we have to try and encompass them all. But all of those need a volunteer. All of those need a coach. All of those need a manager. All of those need support, and we haven't got it. We haven't got enough people to do that, and that is our massive issue. We need people to come forward to take a role on. You do a little role, a tiny little role, and it helps me that I don't have to do that role. That's all.
That's it. Yeah, feed it out piecemeal, and hopefully harness some experience that exists out there. We've had a question come in. And g'day to Simon, who's one of our regular contributors.
Hi, Simon.
Yeah, so it's a great question that he's asked. So you can see it up on the screen. So around the world, touch has had some success with other governing bodies. So the NRL here in Australia, the Irish Rugby Football Union, and the Rugby Football Union in England has gone with a new variation of the game called Touch Union. Have you got any links with Welsh rugby over there? Have you been able to promote touch as a complementary sport to rugby?
Yeah, we have. And hey, good morning, Simon. It's nice to see you. He's a captain of the GB50s. He came over to Malaysia, so I know Simon very, very well. It's lovely to see you, my friend. We got good links with the Welsh Rugby Union. We have, and they've got no thought about changing the format of the game. They have changed it slightly for some of the. I contradict myself there. They have changed things slightly, but they do work with us. They are working with us, not as much as I'd like, but I guess I'd like more contact with them. It does concern me slightly what's going on around the UK with the. I see what's happening in England. Ireland seem to have some great links that are going on over there. Aidan Sweeney and his boys over in Ireland are doing a great job keeping things nice and tight with the Irish Rugby Football Union. Us in Wales would like to progress the Welsh link a lot better. But again, it's down to manpower and time and energy and having everybody who's available to do it. We've got contacts within the union. Like I'm a Welsh Rugby Union referee, so I ref on a Saturday for Rugby Union as well. So, we've got great links that we have there. I don't like seeing the variation of touch. Touch is a sport in its own right, and we need to get that. And this is where it comes down to the Sports Council recognition. If we had this recognised as a sport in its own right, we wouldn't have the variations of the rules of the federation rules of touch. It doesn't develop. It doesn't help us, in any way. We have to do something that we can to try and get the sport recognised. If we do that, and it'll standardise it. I want to work with these other parties. I want to work with the rugby union. I want to work with the Welsh Rugby League. But let's play the same sport because it helps everybody. It doesn't confuse everybody. If we play in rugby union, on a Saturday, there's no reason why some old guys or some adapted sport can be playing touch in the afternoon. But let's play the same format of the game. It gets confusing. It gets confusing for everybody. I know when we went into rollout within Wales, and when we were opening the doors, and people just wanted to play some sport, and they were adapting what they could, and that's because we had new challenges that were available to us at that time. But I'd like to see it standardised. We have to get it standardised in the UK. Let's get together. Let's talk about it. How can we do that? Because we want to help. We want to help the development of rugby union, of rugby league, and this is a medium to help. But don't try and hinder our development of touch by changing the rules of touch. We're trying to help. I know it seems as though we're getting hindered slightly because the rules are being adapted and changed. And it needs to work both ways. If we're trying to help, then please come help us as well, because we want to develop ourselves as well as develop you. So
I think that's the key. It's something that we found here in Australia, where I'm based. Touch used to be the poor cousin, and it was talked about in almost derogatory terms in the major sports, in the professional sports. They didn't acknowledge us as a grounding for their own players. They almost saw us as a competitor. But ultimately, it's swung around now, and when they talk about some of the leading players in the NRL here, and also the leading rugby players in the Rugby Sevens programs, they actually endorse touch as being part of that promotion factor, the skill development aspects, without having to change the game, that these players can transition from one to the other. So now, where it used to be, they're playing touch football out there, is actually not seen as a derogatory throwaway line. It's actually a real recognition of the skill set that those players are bringing to those games.
The thing is, we've got people in positions, and they do recognise it. Like a close friend of mine, Paul John, who's looking after the Sevens in Hong Kong. I played alongside Paul playing touch, and he's in numerous caps for Wales. Paul, he's well known, and he acknowledges that the sport, the development of the sport, and there's lots and lots of people out there who understand the sport. We got a youngster who's playing for the Welsh Sevens, who's been in the pathway for the Welsh Sevens, and he's played touch for Wales. So and I know it's happened a lot in Australia, and I know it has, and in New Zealand, and I've seen players popping up there as well. But we want to work together. It's certainly not in competition. Far from it. We can't compete with a multi-billion company like the Welsh Rugby Union. We're a small one-man band, really. We've got a small board of 4. We've got minimal volunteers. We're trying to do everything we can. We're punching above our weight. When we're looking at what we're doing around the world, we're punching above our weight, really, for what we've got. We compared to where you are in Australia and where England are. We're definitely punching above our weight, but it gets to a point that you can only do so much. We can only do so much. And I come back again to the Sports Council recognition. We just need that. We need to get this sport recorganised.
And once you get that recognition, and you get the recognition, then you get the support of those other organisations, and then the players see that there is a pathway. They see that there is recognition of that game that they play, and more people will come. That's how we're seeing it here in Australia, and I've seen that all around the world. So,
look, I'm grateful to the Welsh Rugby Union. The Welsh Rugby Union did recognise us as a sport in their own right, and they acknowledged that, and that's how we became accredited to the Welsh Sports Association. So they do, and they work with us, and it's great, and I want to work with them even more. So they have acknowledged, that we're a sport, and they don't want to touch the elite end of the sport, obviously, but they want to do something to develop the sport. So let's continue with what we can to try and evolve this and make the sport as big as we possibly can, and compete with you guys in the Southern Hemisphere. I want that.
Oh, we welcome it, and that's exactly. We've been through a lot of what you're talking about. the game is a lot older here, even though we're a relatively young sport compared to some of those professional organisations. We've been through a lot of what you're talking about.
Yeah.
And so we've been there, done that. And I guess that's where developing countries or countries that you haven't been around as long, you have the benefit of that hindsight to be able to take a product that's, already prepared and put your touch to it, put your slight, slant on the game. From that angle, what technical development have you guys undertaken over there? What technical programs have you adapted, and how have you put them through the sport?
Well, look, 99 was the kickstart for us when we came over to the World Cup and played mixed open and men's open, and then thankfully we had some great involvement with Kerry Thompson and Kerry and Bill Kerr and the late Dennis Coffey, and also our New Zealand friends down there, Pete Walters and Gary Hogg, and the late Gary Hogg have helped us massively with the development, and I'm really grateful for those guys. When we were in our infancy, they taught us. They came to the UK and they taught. 2002, I ran with colleagues and friends. We ran the European Championships in Cardiff, and Australia came over and they toured for that, and that's a massive thing for us to get these guys over. And the technical development started then. New Zealand came over then in 2003, and again, they started assisting us with the technical side of things, and things really exploded from then. From technical elements, it was a process of this is what we got, have it all, and develop it all, and do everything. I'm really, really grateful. Without that, we would have been years and years behind. We're still not where we want to be. But I don't think we'll ever be where we want to be. But we're a lot further down the road than we were in 99. From a coaching elements, things in the UK now have moved on. We've got, the refereeing structures are much tighter. And I'm grateful for friends at Kevin Hobbs and the guys who are associated with refereeing in Wales. To see a Welsh referee refereeing in a World Cup final, see Kev doing that in 2014 was absolutely phenomenal. So, so look at the development that has come through, and Kev worked tirelessly to get into that slot, and he did well. I think they want to Kev to ref, and I'm not belittling this in any way, Kev. I'm just having a little bit of a joke that wearing your wellies because you're playing in Wales because it was raining so hard in Coffs Harbour, they needed a man used to ref it in the rain. So I don't know whether that was the case. I'm sure that's not. But watching him ref that game was absolutely phenomenal for us in Wales. And I've refed alongside Kev, and not at his standard, obviously, but it's great to see. So. But that's another area that we got to develop. Refereeing, we're always short of referees. We always are. As a referee myself, a level 3 referee in Wales, I've chosen to go keep down the playing route to try and develop there. But we're always short of referees there. Recruitment, retention. Once you're in touch, you stay in touch. You become a lifer, don't you? Once you start playing touch, you become a lifer for touch. You don't seem to go, and you'll stay involved with the game for a long time. Schools. Schools development is an area, like as a PE teacher, I teach it in my school. I love it. We've got lots of other PE teachers around the country that teach it. Previously I have delivered onto the PGC, postgraduate certificate of education courses for PE teachers, training PE teachers on how to deliver touch. And I know that the WRU do little models on that with their WRU hub officers that we've got within schools. They also link up with touch development that's going on as part of their remit. So that's developing nicely. That's ticking over nicely, slowly, but it's ticking over nicely. Clubs wise, we started to affiliate things a bit better within Wales. It has been a bit loose for us previously, and we've got a membership criteria now that we're trying to get, and trying to get everybody covered from an insurance perspective. Association with the Wales Touch Association gets you covered for insurance, and we've got clubs at different levels. And my own club, Varsity Vandals, Stevie RH, what he does is brilliant. And there's loads of other guys around the Principality who are trying to develop that. We look at a module down in Swansea, the Gower Dragons, and what they're doing. And they've managed to springboard another touch modular setup down there. And thanks to John Francis and Paul North and his boys down there who get that off the ground, and everybody involved down there. But the development is constant thing, isn't it? You know,
It is.
on what we're trying to do. We've got to chip away at it constantly, but having a strategic plan and what we're trying to get is what we're trying to achieve. But it all comes down to that volunteer base and manpower. So it's you know, we can try and we're doing it, but we spread too thin. You know, there's no doubt we spread too thin. We had a board meeting last night, ironically, and we were talking about some of the things that we're trying to do within Wales, and you know, we just haven't got enough time to do it all. But we get in there. We are getting there. It's better than it was in 1999. So, you know, so you look at when we started playing touch, so, you know, there was no touch played in school. So it is getting better. It's nowhere near where we wanted to be. And it's certainly nowhere near, you know, things have exploded over in England and really taken off in England. But when you look at their website and you look at the volunteer base that they've got, that's where it comes from, because you've got all that enthusiasm. And that's why I'm so strong about ensuring that we continue with the overs teams, the over 30s, 35s, 40s, 45s, 50s. Because that's where our group of further coaches come from. That's where that's where the word is spread via the older guys who've been playing the game a long time, who are lifers, who are touch lifers, who will develop that sport. You know, and it happens that way. So we're trying to get the development of it via osmosis, I guess. So we get it. You know, you rub shoulders with me, you know, play touch forever. That's how it works. And you know, that's the way that. Sorry.
I was just going to say there, Neil, I think one of the key things that you mentioned there was that the technical development is more than just, you know, getting numbers. It's if you can provide, you know, an advanced skill set in each of those levels. So as a player, we have expectations of our players to achieve certain levels. Referees, if we don't promote our referees at a commensurate level and the players advance beyond the referee's capabilities, well, then the game suffers. So those technical aspects of the game in your coaching, your referees, and you know, your managers and your club administration, if you can build a professional sporting base, people will stay around for longer. They enjoy, you know, playing the sport because of those aspects of the game, not just the getting out on the field. So, you know, it sounds like you guys have got that harnessed. But it gets back down to those numbers, like you said. It's touching, you know, the right number of people to run those aspects of the sport.
There's always something you have to move forward with, isn't there? You know, within the game, and with the new legal requirements that we've got, you know, we've just set up a system within Wales now to make sure that everybody is completing safeguarding training to do everything, which is, you know, a compulsory requirement for all sports. But doing that and that process alone and getting people to complete those courses is hard. It's really hard, you know, and then managing it, managing it. You know, people are giving up their time as it is. And then we're asking them, well, look, you need to do this. You need to do this qualification now. And we have to do that. We have to be, you know, we have to be compliant with what is required within the UK. You know, there's no way that we would follow things incorrectly. We must do this, you know, and to move forward correctly, you have to get a structure in place, and looking at, you know, how long it takes to write policies, you know, how long it takes, and then to get people to read policies, you know, it takes a long time, and they're jobs that people don't want to do, they don't like doing, and nobody likes doing things like that. But you're absolutely right when you're saying we have to have that basis, you have to have that structure, and let's make it easy for people, because this is an easy sport. You know, you get a ball, you throw your jumpers down, and you got a touch pitch. It's an easy sport to play, isn't it? Let's face it. You know, you don't need anything else. You know, and let's get on with playing our sport. But we as administrators, I guess, and you know, and board members, we need to make it easy. And we try to do that. We try to do that in Wales. We don't always succeed, but we do try, and we try and endeavour to move it forward as much as we can. But linking up with both sides of things from a player and a refereeing perspective, you're absolutely right. They have to come hand in hand. You know, I think we're always going to have that issue, because the player base within Wales has moved on significantly. You know, and we have got an avenue that we need. We need better standard of play. To get better standard of play, you need better standard of refs. You know, you need better facilities. And they all work together, and they all need volunteers, and they all need money, and they all need funding, and they all need all those other things that we need. So, you know, they're all, you know, where we were juggling with 3 balls, we're now juggling with 10 balls. So, you know, and I love that challenge. I love doing that. I love doing that challenge. My wife hates it, I got to say, but I love it.
There's always a victim.
Yeah, but I love it. But and I'm a lifer for touch, as everybody will know. But let's keep moving that together, and let's do it together. Let's make sure that we're working together all the time, all the associations that we can. In the UK we're really tight. With the links with England and Scotland and Ireland. And let's keep it going.
Yeah. The one thing I'm taking from just listening to you talk, Neil, is the absolute passion that you have for the game. And anybody that's listening to this or listens to it down the track, if you're within Cooey of Wales, if you're just next door, or if reach out to these guys. They need your help. So, and I know from an international touch perspective, a lot of those things that you're talking about, the policies and the procedures and shared experience of countries around the world, I'm sure that there are people watching or who will watch this down the track that, will offer some advice and support in that realm. So, well, put it out there on Neil's behalf. If you want to throw your hands up and give Neil and the guys from Wales some support in that respect, please do so. I'm sure it'll be greatly accepted.
Yeah, absolutely.
We'll touch on what the world can do for you shortly, but I just want to. You talked about how the UK is opening up earlier on. Okay, so you're back playing.
Yeah.
What's the direction you guys have got? What are your competition plans, both nationally within Wales and also internationally? What's on the horizon?
Well, looking at things, we've looked from top down really. When we've opened up now, there's been some strong work taking place with the associations in Wales, and I'm thankful for I forget the lady's name now in England who's been driving this. But we've got an international competition taking place this weekend up in Manchester. So we've managed to get things going quite quickly. We had a test match on the weekend for the men's 50s in Wales. England gave us a bit of a lesson. Well done to the boys who are in England there. So well done you. The 40s and the 45s, Wales and England had a test match a couple of weekends ago. So things have moved quite quickly from an international scene. People were desperate to play, weren't they? They're desperate to play and desperate to get things off the ground. And and thankfully we managed to put something in place for them. Club development is always something we're looking to get together. A regional development. It's fallen aside from us. Our regions, unfortunately, we had a regional setup that was going very well. But again, volunteer based and being stretched has caused that to be impacted. So we haven't really run a regional structure for a while. We need it, but getting that off the ground is going to be another challenge. Club wise, is trying to get our clubs having more autonomy with how we look at development, because we've got a lot of strong clubs, we've got a lot of strong leaders within those clubs, and looking at trying to get the branches of the clubs that have got their junior development, their open development and their senior development, in place, and to make sure that they're all compliant, and to make sure they've get the understanding of what happens with that development within the club. We're looking at trying to make that easier. We're looking at a platform, an online platform at the moment for the club links to make the communication with clubs a lot more straightforward, so they can organise their fixtures and organise their games. And I'm working with that with a friend from GB Touch actually, Graham. So hopefully Graham and I will get that off the ground in the future. So it'll help the clubs. But we're doing things quite slowly. Thankfully, Dave Swain, as I mentioned, Dave is the founder of Touch of Wales, has got a module off the ground again. He's done that very, very quickly. So we've got a little autumn lead. We're getting very autumnal in Wales at the moment. It's gone a bit chilly, as you can see. I'm in my hoodie. It's gone a bit chilly at the moment. So we're moving out to summer now. So let's we've got a little bit going on, but it's not as much as we would like.
Well, onwards and upwards, as long as we can see, that light at the end of the tunnel or the middle of the tunnel where you guys are, that's sounds fantastic. The fact that you've got international touch and you're able to play against your neighbours there, something to look forward to.
Look, I'm really looking forward to the weekend. There's 25 new caps in our open categories for the weekend. So good luck to every one of those guys who are going out there. So that's what it's all about, isn't it? Blood in new youngsters, and we've got youngsters coming through now, playing in the 15s, 18s, and now playing senior touch. And it comes back down to that development conversation, question you had earlier. That's what it's about. That's what
Oh,
it's about,
100%.
getting that pathway through. If we haven't got that path, but what I want to see now, when they get seniors, they start playing the 30s and start playing 35s. If you get involved and stay there all the way through. So hopefully we can do that. Let's keep that going. Let's keep that moving.
That sort of stuff gives blokes like you that have been around the sport for a while and been there, done that. You've had your own pathway to look back and see these kids following in your footsteps and probably doing it better than you did it. And that's because of people like you who have laid that pathway, provided the foundation, and then given back in that development aspect that you talked about. So,
look, we've been fortunate.
To you and
we've been fortunate within Wales. A board member, Marco, and I'm thankful to Marco for getting this together. We've just managed to take on our first full-time employee. Kyle Owen has been taken on. Linking up with the Department of Work and Pensions. We've managed to get a kickstart scheme, as it is, to help young people coming into the workplace, and we've managed to get our first employee. So Kyle, it's great to have you on board, my son. It's excellent, and let's move up what we can to benefit you and benefit the sport. So that's moving the right way. So let's see what we can do to develop it. It's good.
That's awesome. So we've talked about, the need for numbers, and we've talked about, that development aspect of the sport. What's your vision for touch in Wales? Where do you see Wales touch, in the years ahead? What's there for you guys to strive for?
I want us to be a centre for touch excellence. I want us to be a place that people will come to and say, well, look, there's a module that I want to follow. That's something that from a nation's perspective, say, let's go and see how the pathway for touch in Wales has developed. Because when we look at, we're small, we're a small nation. So, we're perfect really for people to model themselves on us, I suppose, to say, look, how can we help other nations as well, to develop their pathway? Because, it's about mutual benefit. I look back to 2002. We had a friend that came over to watch the European Championships in Cardiff, because, the guys from Jersey to come and watch the European Championships. And then they ran the European Championships in 2004. So it's about helping everybody. Like, we had help in Wales to set this off the ground from Kerry and Bill and all the guys from FIT. And then we got to help as well. So, it's about us providing that environment where we got a safe, secure, fun-loving, sport-loving, social environment that we can continue to play touch. It doesn't have to be at international level. I want to see it played at parks pitches. I love going, around some of the parks that we've got in South Wales and seeing people pulling up some shirts and just playing some touch and playing proper touch. Playing touch on the park, and that's for me. That is us getting the right development pathway in place. So hopefully we can be bigger, we can be better, we can be stronger, we can work better together, we can work better with all our supporting agencies, and let's get the sport recognised. It's a sport that deserves to be recognised. We need to be recognised in the UK. Let's push it on. Let's push it on.
That really is the key. And you said with that recognition, it'll come, and then more people will do exactly what you said there. Just take their shirts off, throw them on the ground, and have a game of proper touch once they see that there is that sport and the basis of where it comes from. So, with that in mind, I want to throw out an elevator pitch. It's what we talk about. You're trapped in an elevator.
Yeah.
You've got 60 seconds to sell the sport of touch to that person you're trapped with that has no idea about it. How do you sell it?
Ooh, a tough one, isn't it?
It is.
It's a tough one. Come and have a look. Come and have a look what we got to offer. The product we offer is absolutely phenomenal. A touch, a sport for all. From the junior levels, you play alongside your son, you play alongside your daughter, you play alongside all your family members, a family team. It's about inclusive sport. It's a touch for everybody, a game for everybody. It is a fun sport, a fun-loving sport. You're not going to get hurt. It's a bit of fun. It is touch. It's, there's a clue in the title here. It's a bit of fun. So let's make sure that we can develop this and play this sport and have some fun. Have some fun with it. That was a short elevator for me, by the way. It was only one floor.
It's plummeting, but you got there. But you're 100% right. And I talked about earlier on, the complementary nature of our sport when we discuss it amongst other sports. But part of that sales pitch that you just mentioned there, the fact you can play it with your son, you can play it with your daughter. It is an inclusive sport.
Yeah.
my sister represented Australia. My father represented Australia. I've represented Australia. It's something that we've done as a family.
Yeah.
My mother was, manager extraordinaire. We've traveled the world together as a family in a sport that we all love. We wouldn't have been able to do that in any other sport.
Well, I'm the same. I'm the same, Adam.
Yeah.
I've traveled the world with touch, and I've been grateful for having that opportunity. The difficulty is self-funding.
Yes.
When it's all self-funding for us in the UK, I don't know how you guys work in the Southern Hemisphere, but we got to pay for everything ourselves. So
absolutely, same here.
It's tough, but we love it so much that we want to do it, and we love it. We love, I love going around the world and catching up with old friends, locking horns with them to start, having that competitive game, and then and sharing a quiet beer after and reflecting and reminiscing. It's just great. It's just great. That's the beauty of touch. Is it's so open and it's so everybody helps everybody. I remember I'll cast a story back to you here when Pete Walters and his genius team came over to us in 2003. I remember Pete saying to us, he ran a coaching session for us at a club a local club to us, Pontyclean Rugby Club, and he said, look, I'll show you all the moves that we're going to run against you on the weekend. I'll show you everything, and I'll show you how to defend them, show you how to do these and how to execute them. So technically he'll show us exactly what we need to do, and then you can have a go on the weekend. So he did. He showed us every single move. He even told us how they were going to call them. Yeah. So we did, and then we played him on the weekend, and obviously we couldn't get anywhere near him. So because he's an absolute genius, but we were just grateful to having all that information. Because it's all very well getting told a little bit. Well, you don't really know the in-depth things. It's why is that happening, and that's what we're so grateful for our friends around the world. They'll tell us everything. They just won't tell us what we want to hear, and that's helped us to develop in the UK and certainly within Wales.
And I think, regular people or regular viewers of the set of six and people who have participated would have heard me say it a million times. And it's something that I find really important is that just exactly what you spoke about, where, back in the day, it had to be there. You had to see it in the flesh, where they would step through the plays. They give you everything how they're going to call it. What we have now, people watch YouTube. They see the games being played at the elite level. And all of a sudden they want to be like that.
Yeah.
But I say it's fantastic to be able to do that and to view what's happening at the pinnacle of the sport. But the bottom line is those people have worked tirelessly to get to that level. And you can't assume that you're going to achieve that just by watching YouTube or going out and trying to put it onto the paddock. And conversely, those countries that are watching Australia or New Zealand or England in the UK terms, you don't want to be them. You don't want to play the game like them. You want to take the best aspects of their game and develop it for your abilities.
Yeah.
It's one thing to understand it, but to be able to do it is also super important. So it all goes back to that technical development, the importance of developing your strengths and making the game yours. Because
it's
there are going to be things that Wales touch players do better than Australian touch players, even though we've been playing it for years. But it's finding that little level that you compete at with your strengths.
Core skills, isn't it? Core skills. You start with the core skills. I'm emphasising now to my friends in the Wales 50 side. You have to be able to do the core skills. If you can't settle correctly, if you can't get the correct body position on a touch, then you're going to be overrun. It's simple things, but you don't get that by just going out quickly. You've got to work at that. You've got to work at that. And that's like any sport, isn't it? I put a message out to our group recently. It's up to you as an individual. What do you want? What do you want as a group? Yeah. What do you want? Do you want to achieve? Because I certainly don't want to be becoming second best. I want to be at the top of my game and doing the best that I can. And I'll always try and achieve that, and it's down to personal pride, isn't it? It's what do you want to do? But we've got to provide people with our knowledge and I'm grateful with for my friends that in the Southern Hemisphere and obviously in Wales and beyond that they provided us with that information to start, because it's hard to start. It's really hard to start. I remember writing the Constitution back in '99 and getting us limited by guarantee. Then, oh goodness me, it's really hard. It's really, really hard. And and then becoming a limited company, in 2002 it's hard. But you can do it. Let's get together and work on it and let's do it. It's all achievable. all achievement.
I have to say, as a long time, dedicated servant of our sport and somebody who absolutely loves it and wouldn't have experienced half the things I've done in my life if it wasn't for the game. Kudos to you and respect for everything that you're doing over there, Neil, with the board, the support of the board you talked about, and hopefully that pathway now with your first paid employee, that's a step in the right direction. And hopefully down the track there'll be multiple employees for the Wales Touch Association to benefit everybody in the sport over there. And not just there, but like you said, those other nations around you working together, the game becomes better.
Without a doubt, the board work tirelessly, and people within Wales don't see what's going on. You've got Alex who's managing, and Rachel who's the technical director, and Marco who's involved in the commercial side, and obviously myself. But I'm sitting underneath that. We've got lots and lots and lots of people. Ewan looking after all the finances, and they're massive jobs. Each of them are massive jobs, and all these guys are working full time. They're working full time and doing this work as a volunteer, and people forget. We are full-time, we're not full-time employees of Touch. We're trying to do the best we can. The amount of hours, we all know, the amount of hours that you put in to give to the game are massive. And I wouldn't have it any other way. Don't get me wrong. I love it. I love the sport. I love the development. I love doing what I can. And bringing everybody in, through the journey with us is really important. But I am grateful to everybody who gives any time, even if they only got to give an hour. I'm grateful for everything that we get from any volunteer, and whatever we can do to support the volunteer base, we will. Within our powers. And Kyle getting on board now, I'm grateful for him for applying for the position, and let's do what we can for you. Let's do what we can to help you and to get a mutual benefit from you. And you're right what you said there, Adam. Hopefully that other nations in the UK will see what we've done there and get more employees. The more we get, the better it's going to be for the game throughout the country and the Principality. So let's keep going.
So going back to the birth of Touch over there, where you talked about, Carey and Bill and Peter Walters and some other great names, Dennis Coffey, respect to Dennis and everything that he did for our great sport, and also our New Zealand friends. The world will get back to some level of normalcy, okay? Yeah. So the gates are going to open, the borders will reopen. Yeah. What's your shout out for people that might be coming to Wales or the UK? What can we do as touch aficionados or lovers of the game? What can we do for you when we're in your neck of the woods?
Give us a shout. Come and have a chat with us. We'd love to see you. We'll come and link up with you, and we'll point you to a game. You can have a run out. It'd be lovely to see people. It's lovely. You come to Wales, you won't want to go home. It's a beautiful country. It's absolutely beautiful. We're small, we're friendly, and we can sing. So come and have some fun.
Oh, I definitely know the singing. I've got quite a few Welsh rugby mates over here as well, and I love the sing along. But I know, from my own personal perspective, and also lots of my mates, when they travel, that's what they look for. They love the game so much that, it's looking you guys up on social media. You have all of the social media presentations and websites.
Yeah. Oh, they're all there. You can find us. You can find us on all the social media forums, and that's a big drive that Carl's making actually is to make sure that we enhance that further. But we're not lucky like the big principalities like London. People drop into London and stay in London. People don't tend to drop into Cardiff and stay in Cardiff. They'll come and visit Cardiff. But come down, come and have a look at us. Come and have a look what we've got to offer. It's beautiful. Staycation and Wales is a place to go. Wales the place to see. So it's beautiful. It's beautiful down here. And
conversely, I know we've had Dean Russell from New South Wales Touch here has put the invitation out to countries around the world to come and play in the State Cup. And I know we've had teams from England and South Africa, Japan. So the invitation is there as well. When the borders reopen, we would love to see you guys down here and offer you the hospitality of our organisations here in Australia. And I know for a fact that New Zealand are the same.
Oh, look, we're grateful. We'd always like to tour, and we'd love to come over if we can. Then there's always somebody would like to get involved, and we'll put that out amongst our touch community, and hopefully we can get a couple of sides. There's some good sides that could come down and have a run. It'd be lovely.
Absolutely. And Simon's put another comment in there. What about touch at the 2032 Brisbane Olympics as a guest sport? Simon, it's been spoken about. I know there's plenty of people here in Australia that'd love to see that, and the acknowledgement of just how widespread the game is at an international level too now, and the work being done by countries like yours in getting that recognition. We'll see, hopefully, 2032.
Yeah, well, it was discussed, wasn't it, at length in '99. You look, it was discussed then when the Sydney Olympics. It said, there's a possibility it could be a demo sport then. So this goes back, this conversation's been taking place for 20 odd years, isn't it? There was a possibility it was going to get off the ground then. And God, if we'd seen that happening then in '99, I guess we would have seen a massive explosion of the sport, certainly within the UK. Like Simon, message to Simon, if it does come in at 32, then him and I are coaching some team somewhere, okay? So I'm on board with him.
I'm sure we'll find somewhere for you. Neil, it's been an absolute pleasure to get to know you and also the sport of touch in Wales. And, we are, blessed to have people like you at the helm of our sport in those developing countries. And I said it before, kudos to yourself and also all of the board and the support you have there. And long may you be involved in our game, because it's people like you who will see, our game become the success that it should be all around the world.
Look, I'm really grateful, Adam, but the game is bigger than one person. The game is about everybody who's playing it. So it's certainly not about me. It's about everybody who's involved in it. I've always said touch is the winner. So that's where we want to go. Yeah,
great to have you on board, mate. And thanks for sharing your time with us, and hopefully the day warms up over there for you.
Thank you. Take care, everybody.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks very much, Neil, for joining us, and for everybody around the world who's hopefully enjoyed that conversation. I know I certainly did, getting to know a little bit more about touch in Wales. And as Neil said, they are a small country. They love to sing. They love to welcome you in. So when the world reopens, please reach out to our friends in Wales and take your version of the game over there and share some of that love of the sport with people like Simon and Alison, who also joined us in the conversation, and all of the friends of Wales Touch. So thanks very much for watching a set of 6. Hopefully we'll have another chat real soon. So stand by for that one. We'll put all of the social media information out there. But from the Federation of International Touch, it's bye for now. Thanks for watching.